All right, guys, welcome to another Mission Monday, and we have a treat for you. We have Mr. Akua Watkins. He is the owner of Post Sam's, which is a mobile food truck, and I'm gonna have him, introduce himself in a moment. But guys, when I tell you, I'm gonna just put this up here. Just want you to look at some of this food that he have over here. You're going to get real hungry and just look at all this delicious food. I can tell you, I've had some of his food because he cooks at the church that we have our business boost boot camps at. And I've tasted his food, but I think I want things over here because it's looking real good. So what I want to do is have you introduce yourself, Mr. Akua Watkins.
Hello, my name is Mr. Akua Watkins. I attend Welcome Baptist Church, and I started my food truck out of my home. And then what happened was I ended up making enough money to buy a food trailer.
Oh, wow.
I went down to Kentucky and bought my food trailer, and mind you, didn't have a plan. I had it up here, but I didn't really have a plan mapped out or anything. And it took me about a year to put my food truck together and got it taken care of. And then different people started showing me different entities to present my food truck and everything, and ended up on this food truck tour network where I go to different subdivisions and different events. And I do a lot of events for the city of Pontiac as well. I do the Dream Cruise, I do Juneteenth and Oakland County Circuit Court. I do a lot of things for them. And ended up getting introduced to Tina Williams. And about 2 years ago, we started working together and getting the things that I need to put in place that I didn't have in place. For example, payroll and business projections.
Oh, wow.
I knew all about the business because I've been in the food industry for about 35 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 35 years, and wanted to do my own. I learned a lot going through different restaurants and everything. But QT Solutions helped me put a business plan together, a business projection together, and then getting funding.
Man, well, that's a lot. I know that it's definitely, you have some great food, just kind of just looking at it. I want to ask you, what inspired you to start the business? What problems are you solving for your customers? What inspire you to start this type of business?
Well, how I got inspired by it was my wife used to work at Costco.
Okay.
And they said, you should start selling lunches. I was like, no. And then so I thought about it. And as I was still working in the restaurants at the time, Roadside Bar and Grill, that's where I learned a lot of things. Roadside Bar and Grill, Bill Roberts Group. So I started doing it, delivering lunches and making a menu, and then realizing when I made the menu, I didn't realize I had different sandwiches. So I called it Post Sam's Cafe Sandwiches and more. And you speaking of the Cuban sandwich, that's my favorite. That's my number one favorite sandwich. I try to do different things for everybody. So I have a turkey burger. I got talked into doing a turkey burger by Tanisha Taylor. She begged me for like 2 years. Hey, do a turkey burger. I promise you it's going to sell. I was like, no. And then I put it on. It just went like wow.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. People trying to do a little bit more healthier stuff. Can you tell me what's in the Cuban sandwich again? Tell our listeners what's in that Cuban sandwich.
The Cuban sandwich is on a ciabatta roll. It's crusty type bread. And I toast the bread, and it's on honey Dijon mustard, butter pickles, Swiss cheese. You got pulled pork, and the pulled pork was soaked in apple cider and cooked in apple cider, and then ham, and you put the sandwich together.
Ooh, I wish we were in person and you had some samples for me to eat. That's all right. So now we're gonna go into your, experience with QT. How did you first heard about QT? What challenges were you facing before working with QT business?
My bookkeeping was messed up.
Hmm.
I mean, real messed up. Because I'm just kind of going by what my POS system said to me. But people would say, hey, you need to pay yourself. Because I never paid myself. I would pay everybody else, but I never paid myself. And so QT helped me with that. You got to pay yourself a salary, which I should have known because I have a friend. He owns the Daily Diner on Telegraph in Huron. And he said, I pay myself the low minimum. And so that's how I figured that out. And QT also helped me with, again, as I said, the business plan, which I had knowledge of the business. And if I was to do things, but the numbers I had in my head wasn't matching the numbers I was working with. So they taught me how to do the business plan and all that, and the business proposal projection for 3 years. So, and I didn't really understand what the projection was to do, but after being with QT, they taught me how you need to do this, you need to do that. Maybe you need to up some prices. I ain't like that, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, right, so you won't be in a hole.
So you can pay yourself, because that's the reason you're in business. You need to pay yourself, and if you charge it too low, you might be paying them to eat your sandwiches. Like you might, they pay you $5 if you spend 10, so you pretty much paying $5 to buy one of your sandwiches. So that's why you put that plan together, so that you can know, hey, I need to charge this so that I can cover the cost of someone cooking the sandwiches, some of the gas on there. You got to do advertising, all that kind of stuff. You got to pay for insurances, and all those things need to go in there. And sometimes it's different in your head than if you actually put it on paper.
I learned, but it's a lot of things. You don't tie in the gas. All you tie in is the food that you're making. You don't tie in the mechanical work.
Right.
For example, I have to pull my trailer with my truck. So that's part of my business. I got to put that in there. And what I learned doing my taxes with the young lady at my church, she said, I give her all my receipts. I just put them in one bag, and she said, next time, put out the groceries from the maintenance. So, and I'm learning that. I said, okay, you don't think about all them small things that your business has to endure, like the taxes and the insurance, and you might have to repair something. You might have to buy new equipment or things of that nature. You don't even put that in play in your head.
Exactly. And that's why people say, hey, why should I buy a business plan? Well, it's not the cheapest on the earth, but it helps you think through those things. Now instead of you just trying to guess. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So when we're putting everything in there, now you're able to better understand your pricing strategy, better understand these things.
Right.
So can you walk us through the process that you spent? What did you do like week one? And, just kind of walk through the process that you had with QT Business Solutions. All that good.
Yep. We talked about marketing. Rob Beverly, he walked me through that process, getting a Google page.
Okay.
And I got my Google page. I look on it every once in a while, but sometimes I forget. But I've been getting hits on it. So, but I'm not in service until next week, because I take November through maybe February off. As far as the food truck, I do catering. He started me off with marketing, so people can see me and see what I sell, and maybe they'll try to find me wherever I am, because I'm not stationary. We went through marketing, and then we went through, I believe next was the business plan. First, we did Zoom meetings and tell them what to expect out of QT. So that's what we did at first, and then we got to the marketing and the business plan. I tell people, be ready to Zoom. Be ready to Zoom. That's all I told him. I said, be ready. I said, but it was working.
You're gonna be on
there. Yeah. At first I was like, 2 hours. And then, but the 2 hours went so fast, I was like, we're done already. But I learned a lot about the marketing, especially the marketing. Because I didn't know how. I just knew I could do it on Facebook and Instagram and things of that nature. And half the time, I don't know how I got it switched up, but my Instagram is linked to my personal page, but I got to switch that around.
I got you. Okay, so
So
you
but
learning the technicalities. Our team is pretty great. Then you did your numbers and
mhm.
just I think we are in the process of funding right now. So we after we submit the business plan, you talk to a lender. So it's not finished yet, but just talk about that whole process.
Well, once I got the business plan together and then talked to a lender and did all my paperwork to submit to her, and she said this is how much we can get you and everything.
Mm,
And she asked what was I gonna do with it, and I told her the different things. I said I would like to get a bigger food truck trailer.
okay.
You know, I looked at the pros and cons of both of them having the truck or trailer, and I like having the trailer, but
Mm.
because I look at it as if I got to fix my truck, that might be easier than fixing my food truck.
Ah,
In a food trailer, I'm just wheeling around.
shoot. Now you have more space, right?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. And I say I want bigger space because right now my trailer is 6 by 12.
Hmm.
I don't know if people can visualize how big or how small it is. Actually, it's small because you
Yeah,
put
yeah.
my trailer up to a food truck, mine look like a baby, you know. And I would like to have a 6 or an 8 by 12.
Mm.
8 by 12 because I've seen someone have an 8 by 12 because it's taller, where you can
Okay.
fit more people in it as well. I can only fit maybe, without it being crowded, 3 people.
Okay.
I have fit 5 people in there before. It was jam packed, So get a bigger one and be able to do everything, even from the inside. Because right now, how I have it set up, I have my cashier on the outside of the window.
Okay, gotcha.
So that
Let's show we can pull it up right now. See, let people
okay,
see. That's what it looks like. And so
yep,
once we have something bigger, let me see it. I think on your Instagram page we had a whole picture of it right there.
mm-hmm.
So it would be much larger than that.
Yes.
Got you.
Yep.
Okay. See, that sometimes that's all it takes is just a little bit. Just a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, and to get you there. Then now you making more money because it's more space and your employees is more comfortable. What was the most valuable part of working with QT Business Solutions to you?
You know what? Just calling me and saying I was just checking on you, seeing how everything's going, you know, and that meant a lot to me. That shows okay, they really care. They ain't just trying to get my money or get hits or whatever. But Rob Beverly, he's the one that usually does that call. Hey, I was just checking up on you. How's everything going? You back to work yet? And he said he wants to try the Cuban sandwich too, and so that's one of the uh, favorite parts that I like, just calling me and
Mhm.
just checking.
It's so funny because we didn't have that position and we decided to add something called a client success manager. And Rob is our
Oh, okay.
client success manager. And pretty much that's what we do. We make sure that you get through your even if it take a little bit longer. You might be waiting on something. Sometimes life happen and people
Yeah.
get sick or the lender was going slow. Whatever happened, we still stick. We sticking with you.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yep.
All right, so tell me this. What's a fun fact about you that most people don't know?
Fun fact about me: I'm silly. People look at me, think I'm all serious all the time, but I like to have fun. I like to engage with my customers. I crack jokes. For example, they might say, "Can I have a Cuban sandwich?" I say, "I don't know. Can you?" You know, I love making the atmosphere fun
Amazing.
wherever I go. You know.
Amazing. Yeah. You know what? When we have that in our life, that just make you live longer, just having joy.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, if you weren't running this business, what would you be doing instead?
What
If
would I be
money
doing
was no
instead?
issue, like no money is no issue, what would you be doing instead?
I'll probably still be cooking somewhere. Probably be a head chef somewhere. chefs and cooks
Uh-huh.
and a bunch of preachers. And I love to cook, because I tell people, if you run a business in this industry, you have to love what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're doing it just for a paycheck, it's not going to work.
Mm-mm.
You know,
Mm-mm.
I love what I do, and I show it in my food.
You know what is so interesting? Every time I ask someone, on these meetings, what would you be doing instead? And a lot of our business owners say, I would still be doing something like what I'm doing right now, because that we go into businesses that we love. You probably talk to the soul with food, you know what I'm saying? I have your information up here. We got email is postsamscafe@yahoo.com. So how can they find your truck? Like when you start open, where can they find you? What's the information? What do they need to do to get in contact with
They can email me at that address, or they can. I usually post when I'm going out about 2 or 3 days, maybe even a week before I go out. And then I do reminders. Hey, this is where I'm going to be at on Tuesday. I'm going to be at City Hall, and serving lunch. If you want to come out and support, or if you feel hungry, you want us to cook your lunch for you, come on out and leave your appetite with us. And you can call me at those numbers at the top. So
Okay, so we have 248-819-0785 or 248-801-3109. And then they can reach you at postsamscafe@yahoo.com. And then they can come to your Facebook page, and that's where you're posting. That's
yes,
where you're going to be posting where you are going to be at, so that they can try that delicious Cuban salad.
yes, that's right.
I'm gonna let him see a little bit more of the food, guys. He does catering, and he
It's
can cater
catfish.
your events. He can get all of your needs done. He has the mobile availability as well. And you can catch him. You can see all of this delicious food out there, just delicious. I was looking at something and I said, I don't think I've ever tried the fried turkey, but definitely did I miss the fried turkey? I think that's on the Instagram page. Oh yeah, right
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
the fried turkey right there. I want to try that.
Yeah, I get a lot of orders for fried turkey during Thanksgiving.
So they can get a fried turkey delivered.
Yep,
You can
yep.
do that. Ooh,
Hmm.
what you done said over here? So, so guys, thank you for joining us. I'm gonna remove this again. This is Mr. Akua Watkins. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for talking about QT and letting people know our process. It does help. And if we're
Hmm.
in our community, we buy from each other. We eat your food. You buy our business plans. It's
There
just
you go.
stay in the family.
It's it's
So,
a, it's a
all
round
right.
circle.
We'll see you guys next week with another Mission Monday. I'm going to just end out on, you guys can contact him again. That's at 248-819-0785. You can go ahead and make that email address if you need any type of catering, or you want to order that fried turkey for Thanksgiving. Just give them a call. All
Hmm.
right, guys. Thank you for joining.